The Visitor That Came in the Night by Angélique Parisot Potter. You are awake, as usual, reading instead of trying to sleep, even though you have school tomorrow and Miss promised an exam. Such a weird word for something so unpromising, although you know you will get top marks no matter what. You can hear your mum speaking softly with someone. You correct yourself. Your mum's not the sort of person anyone would describe with such a gentle word. The whispers must be from the late night visitor. You are still mad at your mum, and you wonder who braved the dark Belmont streets to come here. You are sleep deprived, and in a few years' time, you will know to describe yourself as an insomniac, which you will learn to suffer for your entire life. You will also be able to recall in vivid detail the 3 dreams which you think caused this lifelong dysfunction. You put down Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which you've read multiple times. You fancy yourself an Elizabeth and listen at your bedroom door. You have the smallest space, as it's one of you. Your 2 brothers share the slightly larger room at the end of the elongated hallway and closest to the bathroom, and your parents share the middle room. You hate that you are across from the burglar-proofed gate which replaced the old wooden door and which now allows sight of whoever is at the top of the outside concrete steps. The world can come and see you whenever it wants. Now there are raised voices. You make a conscious decision to forgive your mum for shouting at you earlier, fearing one dream might come true and you'd have to jump into your mum's grave because you won't live without her. You peep out. It's Shalisa. It is dark, almost 2 a.m., but you can see Shalisa's huge stomach pressed against the wrought iron gate, her hands gripping parts of the leaf design. Your mum is slightly distant from the gate, which is still closed. Shalisa moves one of her hands from its death grip and wipes her face before placing it on her monstrous stomach, which you know contains twin boys. You know how the boys came to be there and how they will come out. You know about sex because your mum had made it a point, being so French and free, to tell you about the birds and bees when you were 6. None of your friends know what you know, or if they do, you don't talk about it. Your mum had also told you last year, when you turned 13, that when you were ready to try weed, you could do it in front of her. This is another moment that you will recall for your whole life, and you will know it is why you never tried weed, unlike all your friends, without embarrassing French mothers. You suddenly recall the horror of the book your mum showed you, Madame Xavier, with those disgusting drawings of the same cartoon man and woman in uncomfortable-looking positions, naked. You go a little closer, and your mum turns her head and tells you to go back to bed. You think that she ought to know you were never in bed, as she supplies you with books from the bookshop she runs with Uncle Clifford, because she knows you hardly sleep. You ignore her, and are now already across the narrow gap between your bedroom door and the gate that lets every bad thing in through the gaps. But it's Shalisa on the other side. You like Shalisa, she's kind. Shalisa sometimes helps you with your homework, although you just pretend half the time because you have already done your homework, but you like spending time with her. She comes whenever Tyrell is working in the gym with Daddy, and you don't really know what she comes to do, but you are glad because your brothers play their own games and you pretend you feel superior to them, but really you are lonely. Tyrell is also fun because he will often play card games with you when he finishes working with your dad. Shalisa and Tyrell are not married, but then neither are your parents really. You know Dad was married before and that you have 2 half-sisters, almost the same age as your mum. It's no wonder you will think years later you were screwed up. Shalisa is crying. Her eyes are really puffy, almost dark blue around. You stand next to your mum, who tells you again, this time annoyedly, to go back to bed. You ask Shalisa what is going on. Shalisa just looks between you and your mum, and you wonder why Shalisa isn't coming in. At this time, between night and day, it seems surreal. At least, you think, it is not one of your dreams, like the one where the tiger is trying to eat you and you can't scream no matter how wide you open your mouth. Or the war on one side and the black, nighttime sea on the other, with you on a thin galvanized fence. Up close, even in the dark, you can see Shalisa's face because the street lights are lighting her up whenever she moves. Her makeup is running everywhere. Black tears and what looks like red liquid lipstick. You surprise yourself and tell your mum to open the gate. She tells you to get the key, and you do. Shalisa comes in and sits in the one chair which sometimes holds mail and keys. You ask Shalisa what is going on and where is Tyrell? As you say his name, Shalisa holds her stomach as if trying to hug the boys or defend them, or both. Closer now, you can see the lipstick is actually her bloodied lip. You look at your mum for guidance and wonder if you should wake your dad. Then you remember he is away. You ask Shalisa again what happened, and she says, it's Jada's fault. Your mum tells you to shush, but you can see she is worried about Shalisa. Shalisa is groaning now, and you think that maybe the babies are coming. You remember that earlier that week, you overheard Shalisa and Tyrell quarreling about something, and the name Jada was repeated a few times. You realize this is the first time you've seen Shalisa since that day, and that Tyrell had been distracted for the last few days and had refused to play canasta with you, your current favorite card game. You think Jada is to blame for Shalisa's sadness. But then you see Shalisa spit out a tooth, and you feel sick. You are also crying now, and your mum is looking a bit panicky. You register that this is strange for your normally stoic mother. You feel helpless. And then you hear the concrete steps ringing in the mostly still night, and you realize the gate is still open. As you move to close it and lock it, Tyrell is there.